Hi, everyone. I know it's kind of early to be on right now. Give everybody a little bit of time to get on here before we talk about the new Ultimate Maxaloones. Yes, it's a new pattern. All right. Got my list here. Feel free to jump in with any questions or anything. One thing I want to start out by saying is that, yes, this is a new pattern. I know a lot of people think it's an update, and again, it's not an updated pattern. Updates are really more for, like, you know, there was a wrong band measurement or something like that. This is a completely new pattern. None of the pieces are the same as the old pattern, and it's a completely new style. The original Maxaloones came out in October of 2013. And over time, styles change. And with that, you know, becomes new patterns. Think about your phone. You know, you've got a new or an old Galaxy S5 or an old iPhone 5, whichever you want to say. You know, eventually you're going to upgrade it. You're going to get a new phone, and you're going to have to pay for the new bells and whistles. So it's not meant to be something to make you angry, but it's a completely new pattern, and it's totally worth the money. And there's lots of bells and whistles, and that's also why Jamie had it on sale through November 10th, so that you can basically just pay the difference for having all the add-ons. So this is Gwen, by the way. Gwen's wearing her Squishaloons. You show them off. Ooh. And she's got her little cloth bum underneath. They fit perfect. Ooh. All right. So a couple of the biggest updates with the newest pattern compared to the old. The old pattern was a 1/2 inch seam allowance. The new one is going to be a 1/4 of an inch. So if you're a creature of habit, make sure you're paying attention to that so that you don't make them too small. Let's see. Hello. A couple of other things I just wanted to go over. The heat and bond for some of the add-ons. Purple one here, this is the one that Jamie's talking about. I got this at Hobby Lobby, as you can see, but you can get it at plenty of places. This is the one that won't gunk up your machine. I also used, I use fusible fleece and then just kind of lay it down on there and did my zigzag stitch when I didn't have my heat and bond, so either of them will work, but something to keep in mind. So a couple of the new things on the pattern pieces. If you notice that the bum circle now has these notches on there, you can cut them off if you don't like them, but they're nice for placement, so you don't have to spend as much time trying to find the center of the back of your pieces or the leg pieces. So those have the notches on, both the top here and then on the bottoms where you line it up the center, and then the leg ends of the legs there. Another thing that I wanted to go over is this piece here versus the back piece, because I know on the old ones a lot of people were doing 2 front pieces if you weren't doing a back piece. So there is one piece here that has the bum circle. Sorry, daylight savings has screwed her up. She's normally sleeping now, but she didn't want to sleep today. Versus this here can be the front and the back. If you notice, there's some cut lines here. Now what I do is I cut them and I put a piece of tape on. So when the back piece is up here, this will be a back piece, and you fold it down to make it the front piece. And then this line here would be for those front pockets. Let me see if she lets me put her down to play toys. There you go. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it up a little bit better. So again, so if you're going to use this one for the front piece, you're going to fold this down, and that makes it the front piece, and then the higher rise is for the back piece. And then this one was the pocket. So this would be your front. You obviously don't want to cut this when you're the pocket piece when you're doing the back piece. And then as well, if you notice, I don't have it cut out, but then you've got a cutout for the new peekaboo bum that a lot of people were doing, so it makes it a little bit easier. And then there's also the shorts line right here for the shortaloons. And then, of course, the new piece also has the skirt option. This is the flounce, and then I cut it in half, and then what I do is I just line it up on my fabric when I'm doing the full. And this is cut 2 on the fold. Okay. And then another change is that the leg bands here no longer cut on the fold. So you just lay it straight on your fabric. Don't cut it on the fold or you're going to have very, very wide leg bands. And then when you're sewing them up, they go hot dog style like that. And then there's also the short band right there too. And then the belly band fold on the left and the right instead of on the bottom. So again, stretch will be going this way and you're going to fold it that way. All right. Does anybody have any questions right away? So obviously the new add-ons were the notches, the shorts line, the skirt. There's multiple kinds of pockets here. We've got the kangaroo pocket, which is the one in the front, the standard pocket, which is the slice in the side piece that I was showing you there. And then there's those little rounded patch pockets and inseam pockets on the Maxaloon sizes and up. Character add-ons, we have the unicorn, the bat, the reindeer, mouse ears, spikes that you can put down the sides, and then the, what did I forget here?
Grab the baby again.
She says, I want to be up here with everybody. So those are the biggest changes. If you have the original pattern and you lose it, Jamie can still email you the original one, so you're not missing out on that. Again, you don't have to buy the new one. There was nothing wrong with the old one, and the old one still works just fine. This one just has a different, a little bit more of a looser fit in the thighs. Oh, looser fit in the thighs. And the bands are just a little bit different. And of course the added sizes. So you've got the preemie size, and then you've got the Maxaloones, which fit on my skinny 10-year-old. So, and he's actually wearing them on his field trip right now. The ones that I made with Squish, with the rocker by Squish. So he is nice and warm on his video, or on his field trip. Funny story, it's actually 54 degrees. It's 54 degrees in Kentucky, and he's wearing long sleeves, and we're from Wisconsin. It's actually pretty warm for us. And his teacher texted me to say, you know, he doesn't have a jacket today. And I went outside in my short or my long sleeve shirt and was like, it's pretty warm, but I went and brought him a jacket anyway to take on his field trip. So that's pretty much it for updates. If anybody wants, I've got some fabric here and we can try to sew one up if anybody wants to. Give me a second here. My daughter's showing off for all of you. She's showing off her necklace for everybody. She's showing it off. Yeah. Yes, she is. All right. Can I put you down? Can I put you down? Oh, still got spit up on the chin. Still there. All right. Can I put you down and sew them up? Okay. Here we go. All right, so I just want to go through some of the directions too, because I know some people were kind of confused and didn't understand the directions. So when you're putting them together, when it talks about the squares that you line up, this is what it's talking about right there. So it has these small gray squares. You're going to put them all together to make one big square. Okay. There's sizing information. So of course the bitty loons, squishy loons, mini loons, maxaloons, monster loons, and megaloons. My daughter is 2 months and she fits in the squishy loons perfectly right now. So first step is how to assemble the bands. Got my fabric here. All right. So this is my waistband. Again, it was cut this way here. This is the long option. There's also the short option too. So you just put right sides together. So this is the same way that I cut it. Right sides together. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then once you've got it serged, you're just going to fold it right in half is what I do. And I hold on to 3 of the pieces. Oops, sorry. I hold on to 3 of the pieces and then just flip around the last one, again, whichever is easier for you. But then that's your band, your waistband. And I'm making the regular size Maxaloones. All right, now those leg pieces, again, when you cut them, this is how they were laid. So again, you don't cut on the fold anymore. You're going to fold it, what most people will say hot dog style, so that it's really long. Okay, and then just sew across the edge. You getting your toys? And repeat for the second one. And then just like your waistband, again, what I do is I fold it in half and I put my fingers through to hold on to 3 of the layers and push it through, kind of like you're folding socks. Everybody's favorite thing to do. And then there's your leg cuff. All right, second leg cuff. Sorry, I printed off the directions so I didn't have to try to follow along on a computer, which is what I normally do. Okay, so putting the bum circle on. Be a little bit harder for new sewists, so I didn't cut my notch very well, but right in the center, right here, there'll be a little bit of a notch. What you're going to do is with the right sides together, you're going to line up the notch that's on your pants with the top notch, the one that only has one single one, not the 3. That top one, line it up upside down. So if you're looking at it, this is the single one right here. And pin it. So it'll look like this. So again, that's the individual single notch right there, just in the center of the back piece. And then the next thing you're going to do is take the outside notches, there's still one in the center there, and line those up with the corner notches on the pants. I'll try my best to let you see this pretty easy here. So if I have my pants upright like this, I've got the left side on my left, your right, I suppose, and it's going to go on the same side of the pants. It's hard to do on a video. Upright, so left side down the left side of the pants, right sides together. Let me pin it and then I'll try to hold it up and show you. Okay, so now you see how you can see the right sides are coming together and they're pinned on the inside. So I've got one pin, the insides here with my right sides together. So this is the inside of the pants and the inside of the bum circle. And then I'm going to take the other one with right sides together, the other notch. Again, right sides together. And pin it. So now I've pinned it in the center and then down at each leg. What I like to do is then quarter it again. What I do is I take my two pins like this and line up the seam. And find half there and then pull the pants there. So again, this is the middle between the two. And then I have it again. You yelling you want to be back on the camera again? Have it again. You just do this one and then I'll hold it up and show you exactly what I did. So now what I've done is I've got the pins at the top. This is that top center one, at the legs, and then in between. All right, and then what I like to do then is just pin the extra space that's in between there. What are the other big questions anybody had about anybody that was posting on the wall just saying that they thought the directions were hard? Anybody on that had any questions right away while they finish pinning this? You know, it's so much fun to watch everybody or watch people pin. Now you can do your bum circle either with a serger or a sewing machine. Either will work. It's whatever you're more comfortable with or whatever you feel like doing. When I first started making them, I used to pin the crap out of the bum circle there, and then I used to put it on my sewing machine first. And then after I sewed it, I would serge the excess parts together and then top stitch. But I've made so many now that I just serge them. I found when sewing and serging, for me, it's always easier to have the bum circle on top so that you can see it and make sure it's not getting sucked under your machine. And again, remember 1/4 inch seam allowance on the new pattern. I always say to go really slow so that you can kind of feel your fabric. I don't know if little Missy's going to let me finish here. You're not going to let me finish. Oh, my baby. Oh, my baby. And I know a lot of people ask about top stitching if you have to do it. It's really highly suggested because it does help reinforce such a highly stretched area when you've got big bulky cloth diapers, or even just baby's bum stretching them. So once that's on, then your next step is going to be to top stitch. I just realized that my comments were not keeping up with me. Sorry, really far behind on comments. The top that I'm wearing is actually the Mega Meena with the nursing add-on, and I used Claire's hack with the elastic. So, hi Sharon. All right, sorry. So these are the Maxaloones that we're sewing up. Just taking any questions here. Oh, my daughter says you're not focusing on me at the moment. For anybody just watching, this is Gwen. She's wearing her shortaloons. She likes to model them off. Yeah. So let's see if we can top stitch now. All right, all right. Anybody else have any other questions right away? Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I talk funny to my kids. So I'm going to slide over here and top stitch my bum circle really quick. Now I usually do just right along the edge, and I use a straight stitch. I use a number 4. I don't use a stretch stitch, I just use a straight one. Hopefully you can hear me with my backs to you. You're not gonna let me sew today. You're not gonna let me do it. All right. Go that way. Let me grab you. I don't know why my comments don't want to keep up with me here. All right. So again, I do like a 4 length, and you may still need to press. You may still need to press them afterwards. Don't have your tension too tight. I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see. If you're a beginner, you may want to try using a walking foot that you can buy at most Joann's sell them. It just kind of keeps your fabric going through at an even feed because it's got feed dogs on the top of the foot as well. So they'll go through together, and it makes it a little bit easier if you're a little bit newer to sewing. As well, when you're first starting, if you have issues with it bunching on the end, you can use some kind of a thin tissue paper, or I use tearaway stabilizer. I save my scraps from embroidery, and I'll use those so that you can kind of keep it through without it getting sucked in underneath your needle there and then getting jammed in your plate. So that's with the bum circle on and top stitched. Serger tails keep coming right up on there. They keep coming up. All right, where do I put my directions now? Did everybody understand the bum circle? Why are my comments not loading? Hi, Annie. She is super squishy. I wish I could get my comments to keep coming up as they pop up. Thank you. She's 2 months. She's got 2 big brothers that keep me very active. Normally she's taking a nap right now, but of course with daylight savings I didn't think about it. She was up a little bit earlier, and now she says, I want to stay up. I don't want to sew, I want to stay up. Yep. All right. Let's see if we can get her down and play toys. Okay. Hi. Hey. All right. So after the bum circle, and after you top stitched, I'm not doing pockets today, so we're going to skip all the pockets, but feel free to ask questions about pockets if you have them. We do have the skirt, so we'll skip to that. Okay, so the skirt is cut 2 pieces on the fold, so you'll have 2 pieces like this. And then you're going to take the 2 pieces with the right sides together. So I've got both of my pieces here, and they'll basically be mirrored to each other. You going to poop for everybody? You going to poop for everybody on TV? That would be impressive. Or spit up again. Or spit up. You feel better now? You feel better now? All right. Want to sew with me now, baby girl? All right, so I've got my right sides together. So there's one side of them, and then I'm going to do the opposite side as well. Her nose is the only thing that she got from me. Everybody says she looks just like her dad. And then the opposite sides too. Sorry guys, I wish I could get a better video for you. So this is the flounce option. Are we gonna be done? Are we gonna be done? All right. Maybe we'll just talk through the rest of the directions and. All right. So if you can see, this is the skirt. I've got each piece together so that now it'll be one big circle. Next step would be putting your pants together. This machine is the Baby Lock Triumph. That's why it's so quiet. It's a new machine, and I absolutely love it. The air thread is great because I have a really small office. You can't really see a lot of it, but it's really little, so having a 2-in-1 machine I actually like. I know a lot of people say they don't like having a serger and a cover stitch in one, but I really like having both together because it saves a lot of space in my office. Yes, there's the airlock threading on both the loopers and on the needles. Another thing I do, you can't really see it here, I use stretch thread in my loopers just to give it a little bit more of a stretch, just in my loopers, not in my needles. When doing that, I do suggest I use the nets around it because it gets a little bit, it can pull a little bit. So I suggest putting that around them to keep the thread from getting stuck. Pardon me. I don't know if you saw my comment before. We had a cold go through the house, so. I'm gonna say hi to everybody. She's so sleepy, but she's fighting it. Doesn't want to say hi. It's not a pain switching back and forth at all with the air threading. I mean, I can switch from cover stitch to serging in under a minute, so it really isn't bad. It really isn't. She'll let me bounce her to sleep. All right, now when you're putting your pants together, so you've got your back piece with the bum circle, which if you noticed, again, has a little bit of a higher rise. It's no longer that straight across that you had on the old Maxaloones. And then the front piece, it's hard to tell with the busy pattern, maybe on the back you can tell a little bit easier. It's gonna dip in a little bit. Pretty hard to see on fabric that's curling. But you're going to line up your side seams. I always suggest when you're pinning, if you're going to pin it together, pinning both of your start point and your end point together first, because a lot of times people will start pinning at one end and you don't realize, like when you're holding fabric, that you're stretching one a little bit more than another, and then you might end up, instead of having it straight, you might end up like with one pulled just a little bit more. So what I like to do, since it's straight and you don't need to stretch it, is just get it going a little bit. And then what I do is I just hold the end piece. And just go right down the side. And then the same thing for the other side. So so that both of your sides are done, side seams. And then the next step is going to be doing your inseam here. Again, same thing like when you're doing serging with the bum circle. I always suggest serging or sewing whatever you're going to do with the bum circle on top, because you're going to have a little bit extra fabric when you're pinning it. And that way you can make sure that you don't like get it into your needles, because I know when I first started making them I did it the other way, and I've gotten a couple of bum circles where you kind of pinch it like that underneath. So same thing, you're going to line it up at the ankles here, and then you'll notice you're going to have a little bit of extra from the bum circle there, or not. If you don't have the bum circle, it should just be flush. And then just sew right on the inseam, and again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. And this is where I pay attention so that I don't accidentally serge in more of the bum circle. And then hold the end. So now our inseam is done. See how you got this little bit of the extra pucker there? That's why I always say to put the bum circle on top when you're serging. That's my own opinion. I mean, do whatever you feel is comfortable. So it's still inseam is flat on one side, but the extra room. And again, this is for those of you that were asking the purpose of the bum circle. You can already see now that it's attached, that you have that extra space right there. And then it's just doing your cuffs. So inside your pant legs, take your cuffs, stuff them in, and line up. I like to line up the seam on the pocket here with the inseam on the pants. And then I always pin the inseam there. And then you'll have to stretch just a tiny bit. Not much, just a tiny bit to get it to reach the other side. What I do with my tails, some people tie them. Some people do like fray check type of things. I put it through just like a hand embroidery needle, and then just stick it right through the edge right there, and then cut off all of your extra. And again, sorry if I'm missing any comments. They're not keeping up to me, and then all of a sudden I'll realize that I've missed all these comments. Whew. Hold on, my cuff fell off the table and it's underneath. Hi. coming out from under the table. So same thing with the other side now. And again, I just pin the seams together so that they stay. Gwen fell asleep, by the way. She was pretty tired. She just was fighting it. So, sorry, pinning the seam together, and then again, just stretching a little bit to make it fit. So, again, they're right sides together, if you can see, and it's just stuffed right inside and stretched just a little bit. All right. So then there's our cuffs, still on the inside. That would be your waistband. So I've got the skirt. So remember, if you're doing the flounce or the skirt, you're going to put those on together. And remember that you want your fabric here, so it's actually going to be one wrong side touching the right side. So if you can see, overlapped here like this. So the green is my skirt. And you're going to stuff it inside because you don't want to do right sides together, otherwise your skirt will be facing the wrong direction. So what I like to do is I'll go in and pin the skirt first. So again, you want the wrong side to be touching the right side of the fabric before you put your waistband on. Okay, so I pinned just the sides here, and the skirt you won't have to stretch. Now you have to remember when you're pinning the skirt on that because of the weight of it, if you're like letting it sink down, that it may feel like you have to stretch it, but it's more just the weight of the skirt pulling your fabric, so you don't want to stretch it. Maybe just ever so slightly, but mind, see if you can. I'm not stretching it at all. It perfectly lays on there. I just like to pin it so that when I'm putting my waistband on, because that you're going to have to stretch, we'll keep it in place and lined up so that I don't have one stretched from the waistband more than the other. Just 1 second here. Sorry. Like I said, we had a fun cold go through our house, so got red noses from it. So sorry, I keep doing it off camera. I'm just pinning this skirt on the pants right now. So you can see that on the inside, my flounce skirt is facing the same direction as the pants themselves, but it's pinned on the inside and my back. So then the next step is going to be putting your waistband on. 1 second, silence my phone. And what I do is put your side seams together right here and then find the center of your back piece. Some people like to do it before, but whichever. And then I just pinch it. And then putting the waistband, this is the long waistband, by the way, not the short one. You can do whichever. Sometimes I do the long, sometimes I do the short. If you saw Gwen earlier, she was wearing the shorts version. So then I've still got it pinched right here, and then I'm going to take the seam right here and just line it right up with where I pinched it. So then if you've got the pants, the skirt, and the waistband, you've got 4 layers pinned. If you aren't doing the skirt, that'll be just the 3 layers. And then I do the same thing. I find the half of my waistband, half on the front. And I keep pinching it here. So like I said, you can mark your quarters before with either pins or add notches, whichever. And then I just use the pins that I used to put the skirt on and keep it right on. Hi, Nikki. And then you're just gonna stretch the waistband to the inside. Sorry, not really good at showing this on camera here. Stretching it through the pants there. So the waistband is now folded inside of your pants. And again, I'll leave the video up so you guys can come back and reference it if you want to, or ask questions on there. There's lots of helpful people in this group that are here to answer questions if you don't understand the pattern. And of course, now the sun's going to come out and beat down. How are everybody else's kids for daylight savings? Anybody else is up early still this morning? Gwen was up at 5 instead of 6 while both my boys were still sleeping. Both of my boys had trouble falling asleep last night, and I was telling Jen Hammerly drastic this morning that I figured that last night would have been a lot easier to go down, and nope, they both fought it. Preschooler didn't want to get up this morning then. All right. So if you've got the skirt in there, I always suggest just kind of feel around, making sure that you don't have the skirt like bunched up anywhere so that you don't surge anywhere else. And daylight savings is no fun. I'd be all for getting rid of it in all of the states. So then just serge all of your layers together, and then if you don't have a skirt, then that's the last step. You can see I'm just reaching on the inside here is what I'm doing for where the skirt's starting to bunch up. Yeah, I hate dealing with daylight savings. It's not fun when you have to go back and you don't get that extra hour, because kids just don't understand. Kids, pets, all of them. They all run off of internal clocks anyway. So now just finish putting the tail through, and that will be it. Sorry. So now just pulling it all out here. So there you have it. Now this is when you finish the hem on your, again, this is the flounce. So this is the half skirt. It's the full band. Full leg bands, you always want to use full leg bands on the Maxaloones or any of the pant lengths really, because that's what gives it the grow. If you don't do that, you're going to have half of the cuffs, which if you want to do that, that's fine, but they're not going to be as long, so they're not going to fit as long. So then the last step would just be to hem it. Let's see here. My fabric stamp that I have here, this is from, doing it backwards, that's from calstamp.com. And they have the palette ink, which is a compliant for kids' clothing. teething doesn't help. Yeah, this is, this one's from Backstitch. I had to think about, I have a couple of Grinch prints. This was the Backstitch print. So then the Grinch butt still shows out. Let me grab my stamp here. This is my stamp from Cal Stamp. Pretty cheap. They have lots of sales. The palette ink. And then on Amazon, this is my stamper that I just used to put on my data manufacturer and all that. So that's it. Are there any other questions? You can see again, this is the long band. So if you had done the short, you wouldn't fold it down. It would just be this length, and that's what Gwen was wearing. I can't really see. That's the short band. Everybody laughs at my baby gate in the background. That's there to keep kids from messing with my machines. And it keeps all but one cat out. I have one cat that made her appearance earlier in the video, and she normally is a great cat and just sits at my feet. Today, not so much. So then the last thing would just be hemming, whether it be you fold under the 1/2 inch or do a rolled hem, whatever you feel like doing. The way the cuffs work here, for anybody newer to the Maxaloones, when they're already folded, all the way folded, unfolded, I should say, out like this is where they'll be more for like the 3T fit. And when you have them all the way in here, they fit as early as 6 months. So there's the size difference there. There's also a hack to make them fit even longer. So fold them completely into your pants like this, and then fold up. So it can be a little bit thick, but it's really not bad. And then they are even shorter. So you can see the different, should back up, see the different lengths there. So that's just another option if you've got a kid that needs the width of one pant, but still wants even more added length to it. Again, sorry, the comments aren't keeping up. And yeah, that brings us back to the instructions that I remembered to print this time so that I didn't skip steps like with my Bitty Bubble romper. If anybody saw that, that was fun. When I was pregnant with that one and wasn't thinking. Let me make sure that I went over everything. So again, the fit, if you saw, don't use two fronts together if you don't want a bum circle. There's still the front and the back piece. So with all of them folded up, this would be just a back piece without a bum circle. There is a cut here for the peekaboo cut. If you're doing the front piece, you're going to want to fold down. So there's a difference. You see where it's going to dip down a little bit at the belly and come up a little bit higher in the back. So no more two fronts. There is an actual, bumless piece for the back here. So right here would be a plain back. Right here would be just a front. If you're not doing the side pockets, if you're doing inseam pockets, you're going to cut it like this. If you're doing kangaroo, you're going to cut it like this. Then there's the original pockets, and that's where you want to cut on this line. Sorry, the sun came up and I wasn't expecting it to. This would be the pockets where you're going to cut sew one to the front here, and then fold it back and then put that full piece on the back piece. I can do a quick video on that one another day. I don't have the fabric cut for those. So that would be one big change. Leg bands, you no longer cut on the fold. It's just one square piece. When sewing them, we folded it hot dog way like that so that you're sewing down the side seam. And then once it's folded once it's sewn like that, then they get folded in half again to make the cuff. Belly band, no longer, it used to be that it was the long way this way and you were folding on the bottom. This one is also going to be on the fold on the left and right now. And then there's also the short band included here. So if you want just that shorter one like Gwen was wearing, you just cut it on the fold right here. So either way, you're still cutting on the fold. It's just whether you want it to be short or have the long fold over like yoga style. Skirt again is cut 2 on the fold, 2 options. So I cut it so that I can have just one, and if I'm doing the long one, I just lay them together with my rock pattern weights. That's what I use. I need to get fancy ones. Again, big changes, notches on the front or on the bum circle piece. On the top there's one, and then this is going to be where each of the legs line up, and then of course the center part. Sorry. And then the notch right here. So then if your bum circle is in half, you know where to line them up. And same with the piece there. You grab a quick drink here. And so there's the back piece that has the bum circle piece. Notice there's no pocket pieces. You're never going to cut a pocket piece on the back one. The heat and bond, again, the purple package is what's not going to gunk up your sewing machine. Again, the pattern's on sale until November 10th. So if you want to get the new pattern at basically just the upgrading price, where you want to pay pretty much just for all the add-ons if you had the original Maxaloones, get it now while it's on sale. Otherwise, 5 more days, it's going to go back up to the regular price. So get it now. So flounce option, this is the Maxaloon size, so the 6 months to 3 years, fold it all the way out or all the way in. Again, big changes if you didn't catch the beginning right away. The seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. The old one was 1/2. So make sure that you're paying attention to the width of your seam allowance there so that you're not cutting extra off, and make sure that you're cutting one front piece, one back piece, whether it be that you have a bum circle or not. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough room in the back and they're going to come out small. There's the shorts line that's on the pieces now. Pockets, you've got inseam pockets, which are kind of like coat pockets, I always say, where you don't really see them in the garment, but they're there, just right in that side seam. And again, I can do a pocket video someday where I'll cut out all the pockets and just kind of do a quick thing, or maybe do some YouTube ones for quick watching. And the fit's just a little bit different, a little bit looser in the thighs. It's no longer just a square one. Again, there's nothing wrong with the old pattern. You can still use it. It's still perfectly fine. This one is just an upgrade for today's style and fashion because it's been 5 years since it's been released. So Jamie just made a whole new pattern and added all of the extra pockets, all of the extra ears and things. Her unicorn ones are in the wash. Otherwise, I would have had those, but most of them have been done. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to go get the baby in the car now and go pick the preschooler back up. So if that's it, I'm going to end the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sitting with me with my baby that refused to sleep this morning, and now she's sound asleep and I have to wake her up to go pick up the preschooler. So That's it. Bye, guys.